All right, let's do a little bit of review. We've been talking about the two rivers of Hinduism, the Indus River and the Ganges River, and then we've been talking more recently about the streams of Hinduism, and we've seen how these two cultures, the Harappan and Aryan cultures, merged together, and then after that we looked at how that resulted in within early Hinduism there being a recognition that there were many different paths, many different approaches or streams, ways in which people could seek spirituality and ultimate reality. And so we looked first of all at the various yogas, which is a combination in English of the word joining and yoke. It's taking the yoke upon you, like Jesus talked about, are the margas, the paths. We've said that Hinduism is famous for saying there are many paths to the same destination. Now we want to talk a little bit about the caste system because that's very important historically in India. The caste system grew out of an earlier stratification of classes that was present in Aryan society. Originally, there were just three different classes. The top class was the priestly class called the Brahmins, not to be confused with Brahma, the ultimate reality, but Brahmins. They dealt with the ultimate reality, so they were Brahmins. And then, secondly, the warriors and the nobility were called the Kshatriyas, and the king belonged to this class, and you could see the importance of this and the nobility. This is the historical aristocracy within Indian society. And then eventually you had the merchants and the farmers, the Vaishyas. Now, there was a fourth class, a fourth caste, you might even say, outside of the top three, the Sudra. And the Sudra was composed of the people who had been conquered and who were treated virtually as slaves. So they were the everyday laborers. But over a period of centuries, that Sudra class was divided into really two different groups. The Sudras, who were the common laborers, they did most of the hard, back-breaking kind of work. But there also became another class called the outcasts or the untouchables. The untouchables did things related to dealing with the dead or relating to skinning, tanning kinds of activities, cleaning up bathrooms, and so on. And for centuries, they were called outcasts or untouchables because they were considered outside the class system. They were so low. Now, there's been some of that still exists, certainly in especially rural Indian society today. But it began to break down some in the 20th century. The great Hindu reformer, Mahatma Gandhi, who is really the father of Indian political independence from the British, he did not like this term that was given to them, the untouchables. And so he invented another term to apply to them, the Harijan, which means children of God. Isn't that beautiful? That he, very much like Jesus, reached out to the lowest people in the society and gave them a sense of status and a sense of worth and helped them to know that they were loved. And that's a beautiful kind of thing. Now, we see all of these castes as they became known. Originally, you could move from one caste to another, but over about a 5-century process, there was a book that was written, and that book basically said that in this life you should not move from one caste to another. So this contributed to a kind of social stability, but at the cost of allowing people to aspire to move to the next level. Instead, it froze everyone in place, and that was your religious duty to find what your place in society was, and then to stay in that place, not to seek to move up. If you were going to move up, that would happen in the next life when you were reincarnated. But initially, no, stay where you are. And as a result, everyone was kind of frozen in place. That continues to be a reality in Indian society. There are, in addition to these 5 groupings of people, there are enormous numbers of subcastes. And these are important because you still have arranged marriages within Indian society. And most of the time, the vast majority of the time, people will not marry outside of their own caste, and in many cases beyond their own subcaste. Now, that's breaking down some in the urban areas. We see people of different castes now beginning to intermingle and so on. But it's still very much something that's prevalent within Indian society. So these are all streams that have contributed to the kind of ethos and even the belief system of Hinduism. And that's what we're going to pick up in our next class, is talking more about the beliefs of Hinduism.